Oh, thank you for coming. Let me take that out. And let me start. Okay, so since we're gonna do this kind of like an asynchronous experience, don't mind the interactive pieces, but I am here today to present my name. Well, I guess I should start with my name. I was gonna do my name on the second slide anyway, but Dr. Belkis Cabrera. I'm with the WeLearn 366 Institute at Padron Campus, and I was asked to present to you a little piece on technology in the real world, and this time careers in education. I know that you've had a bunch of these on the LibGuide that you can check out, careers in business, in engineering, and a lot of other spaces and places, and this one is about education. And so if you'd like to, you could take a moment to scan the QR code right on this first slide, and that will take you to the presentation, and that way you could go through the presentation again at your leisure, and you don't really have to sit through all of this if you want to go at a faster rate or a slower rate. Okay, with that said, let me see, I'll give it a little bit of time for people to scan. And I'm going to move on. I hope that was enough time. Okay, so the agenda. I usually like to do what's called TILT. It's transparency in learning and teaching. And what it means is that we're going to try to be as transparent as possible with why are we doing what we're doing. And so in terms of this series as a whole, I think the purpose of this particular workshop is to examine common careers in education, including some of the pay ranges, right? You're going to notice that the education pay ranges are probably not the same as the business pay ranges, but there are some really interesting jobs out there that I'm going to spend some time digging into, especially the instructional design and technology a job that we have, and actually the certificate that we have as well. So we could talk a little bit about that. So what are the educational requirements for some specific jobs? So we're not going to get too much into the educational requirements, but definitely the skill sets that you will need, we'll talk a little bit about. And we'll definitely talk about the technology that you will need to explore in that particular field. Why are we doing this? Like I said, to be totally transparent, because learning about careers in a particular field may help broaden your career choices. It will help you make more informed decisions, and it will really help you be more familiar with or have a more realistic view of the job requirements and the expectations. Okay, the tasks, what are we going to do? We're going to share what you already know. That's going to be the part that's going to be a little tricky because, again, this is going to be kind of asynchronous. But if the callers out there, the 2 or 3 folks that are participating, if you could interact, that would be great, just so that everyone can see what that would look like, because we are going to have Mentimeter, little Mentimeter interactive sessions. And then we're going to examine some tracks and some jobs, very, some specific jobs. Really what I'm going to give you is just links, and you could double click on the link right there on your phone, or actually, again, if this is going to be available, we'll also put, like, if you could put a PDF of this, you can also click on the PDF so you could follow the links. All the links have QR codes as well, so you can always scan them. You are going to identify the place of IDT. We're going to talk about instructional design technology because that's near and dear in my heart, because my bachelor's is in education. Actually, it's in English and ed, because I did both. I had a double bachelor, but they overlapped, the double major, but they overlapped. My master's is in English lit, and then my PhD is in instructional design and technology. So I'll spend a little time talking about that. And then we'll talk a little bit about technology in the current ed context, especially generative AI. And I'll give you, this was a skills shop, so I felt like I had to give you a skill as well. So I'll talk very briefly, or actually, I'll just give you the link to how do you generate good prompts with AI. And then the criteria really was supposed to be for whether or not it's successful is your interaction and your participation. So I'm just hoping you're going to interact with this on your own. So, Christina, you okay? Sounds good? Okay. Okay, just making sure. She's my co-pilot, So how, okay, so this is the interactive part. I don't know if you want to do this, but if you want to do this, you can just scan the QR code, and you think about, we just wanted to get a feel for how many careers or jobs in the field of education can you think of, right? Can you name? And we were just going to do a word cloud. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, just in case people had time to actually do this. If you don't, it's okay, again. So this would populate, right? And we would see some of the responses. I'm going to give you some time to see if the folks on the call can actually, reading coach, a teacher, of course, instructional. We're going to talk a little bit. There's some links in here of non-instructional jobs in education, but of course, there's always the instructional jobs, and those are by every subject matter, right? And even teachers that are specialized teachers for special needs. So you have a lot of teaching opportunities. Librarian, yes, it's our learning piece. Tutors, absolutely. Principals, absolutely. Administrative, we are going to talk about some administrative roles and what those might look like. And one of the things that you're going to notice is not every school has all these jobs available, and some of them have like floater, like even like nurse. I thought you guys were going to tell me nurse. It's not a typical job. School psychologist, absolutely. Counselors, psychologists, and again, therapists, and even nurses. Some of them are floaters, and they're in various schools, but that's one that you don't even see a lot in the links available, but know that they're out there. So yes, a lot of great things coming in. Thank you for participating. I will leave it up so that others can participate in this as well. And we will go back to the presentation. And I'm sorry that I go in and out, but I have a free Mentimeter. Get your Mentimeter. Okay, so right away, I thought that I would lay this out for you in 2 simple links, the best links that I found. The 5 tracks in education is really not about tracks. It's a lot about big kind of careers. And then the careers in ed really is more about the jobs, even though it's called careers. But there are two kind of links here. There's this one and there's the bottom one. The QR code goes with the bottom link simply because the QR code is for one that includes the things that I promised, right? That we promised, which is what are the salary ranges and what are the kinds of skills. So I'm just going to take a little time to just click on this to show you what this looks like. Again, the ones that I really am excited about or that I wanted to share with you is the administrative track in ed, the counseling track in ed, right? Everything that deals with psychology, therapy, because if you go into psychology and education, you can definitely find a lot of good fits there. The instructional track, obviously for teaching, but then there's also a corporate track. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then a consulting track, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But anyway, so if I click on the link again, and you can click on this at your own leisure, this was one of the latest ones. I think this one is was put together in 2024. If this one wasn't put together in 2024, the next one is, but it was a really good one. They talk about best paying careers. They give you, with bachelor's degree versus master's degree. So please go through this. And in administration, they talk about, you could be a principal, you could be a vice principal, you could be a superintendent, right? You could be at the district level, you could be in private schools, in public schools. They do tell you a little bit of the median annual wages that, school principals would make, $95,000. You have admissions counselors or recruiters in here, so you could look at that, what this looks like in terms of adult education, because remember that when we're talking about education in general, there's the K through 12, there's also the higher ed experience, right? The colleges, the universities. So you could take a look a little bit about what this says about those careers. It's an actual pretty good website. I'm going to go through the directors because some of these I'm actually not very familiar with, and not all the schools have them, but career counselor, the counselors, definitely, the CAP counselors, definitely really good job that you can find. And here's where I wanted to get with corporate trainers. So one of the things that you probably haven't thought of is how education ties with the corporate world. And education is really about teaching and learning. So when you get a career or a degree in teaching and learning, you can then think about, okay, well, how might Amazon need a person who understands teaching and learning? Because when you train, you're teaching, right? And people are learning. So that's one of the things that you should think about if you're interested in not teaching to maybe students, but teaching and the business connection. It's really good. It's really lucrative. And if you do IT, and we're going to talk a little bit of IT, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to just tell you that now. Now, especially with the amount of technology that's coming out, the AI, the VR, the AR, the MR, like all the different technologies that are out there. Corporate world is desperate for education majors that can teach and find ways to make others learn about this new technology. And those trainers, those special skill trainers, are from the education world. So think about that. Curriculum design, this is near and dear to my heart. It's kind of like the other part of instructional design. So these are the people who really love putting lesson plans together and activities together. And this is one of the things that we're not going to talk a lot about here. But if you want to reach out to actually either Cristina Ondaro or Belkis Cabrera, if you want to reach out to us and find out a little bit about, maybe there's a little quiz that you take about your passions, and it tells you kind of like, what you might want to think about doing. There's a lot of actually career quizzes out there, but there are a couple of them that I found online that I really, really liked, and they're short and they're really good in terms of kind of getting you to think about which route to take in education. Because again, if you like design and you like designing lessons and activities, curriculum design might be a good fit for you. And actually it says 58,000 annually, but it also depends on where you're designing and for whom. If you're doing this in higher education, it's a much higher than that. And if you're doing this as a consultant, right, external consultant, the sky's the limit, right? Like you could really say, okay, I want to do a project that takes 2 to 4 months, and you're making $40,000 for those 2 to 4 months, right? So you're talking about now a salary in a year of over $80,000, $100,000. So you just need to sell your brand and your work. You need a portfolio. There's a lot of things that go in there. Again, let me know if you want to have a conversation about this for sure. For sure, we'll put my contact information at the end of this presentation. So, okay, curriculum representative, sales, like people who sell, for example, even like books like Pearson, things like that, like all the materials that go with education, all those people are also in education, need to know the realm of education. And actually, those are the people that really get the sales and really get the connections with the schools, because they understand the education world, right? And what that looks like. You could also go into education policy and research. There's a lot in research. One of the things that's happened with technology right now is that we are becoming more data driven than ever, and than ever, I would say, because we have access to data that we didn't have before. So like, to give you a really quick example, when you use Canvas, right, you're using your LMS, your Canvas, your teacher can kind of see in terms of your Canvas activity, what you signed. Oh, maybe I shouldn't be telling you this. So yeah, it's a good thing to know, right? They can see what you clicked on, what you didn't click on, how much time you spent on a page, like all that kind of information. We can now collaborate, not collaborate around, we can kind of investigate. And even like if you opened emails, what emails you opened, what attachments you opened. So technology has let us collect data in a way that we hadn't been able to collect it before. And actually now we can make more informed decisions and make changes and reach people differently because of the kinds of things that we're able to analyze. And by the way, businesses are dying for those kinds of people that can analyze that data, all the advertising. Imagine how many millions and billions of dollars they can save if they understand, wait a minute, this advertisement is working, this one is not, right? And all that falls into the fields of education and data analysis, research, all of that. So educational consultants, of course, we kind of talked a little bit about this. Or you could be a freelance writer, blogger, podcasting, all of that also is attached to, you could do this for teachers or for journalists, but all of this is kind of loosely attached, but still attached to education, especially if you start to do that for schools and develop websites and things like that for schools. You could do a homeschool consultant, which there's a lot of people in homeschooling, and you can actually get paid to kind of manage that homeschooling experience. And then I'm going to stop here at my number 14 for instructional designer, because that is what I went into. And this is a field that boomed in COVID. And I think one of the things that's happening is that people don't really understand just how amazing this field is, but I want to talk a little bit about it. So I'm going to stop there. There's a lot more on this link, but I'm going to go back because if not, we're not going to finish. In fact, I just realized that we don't have a lot of time. So If you click on careers in education, by the way, it's going to take you to another link that is really, really great, that really gives you like salary quotes. And if you go down, it gives you more traditional jobs. Like you'll see specific, like teacher's aide. What does that mean? What do you need? What does that look like? Daycare teacher, sports coach. It gives you math to English to all kinds of preschools teachers, like all kinds of jobs in here, what the salaries are. What do you work on? What do you need to become a teacher, a lead teacher even? What does it mean to be a lead teacher? The salaries, the steps, everything. This is a really, really comprehensive website. And that's why I gave you the QR code for this one, because this one was one of my favorites. So let me present again. I'm so sorry. And then let me see if I can move through this quickly, because I spent a lot of time, even though that's what I had promised, I spent a lot of time on that website. So okay, so a closer look at IDT, the Instructional Design and Technology. Why do I want to spend a little bit more time looking closely at this one? It was considered one of the hottest jobs in higher education in, actually this was 2020, but it's still, people are still pulling back now. I think anything with AI is really taking hold, but still people are looking for instructional designers who have the AI experience, right? So the demand has grown more than 20% over the years. The salary range can range from, and you can look this up online, go to Indeed, go to Glassdoor, but go to all the kind of the job searches, put job search out there on Google, and you'll see the salary ranges for instructional designer and lead instructional designer. In fact, I'll show you one that's open right now for FIU, for Florida International University, so you could see the pay range for that. But more importantly, what I had said, instructional designers not only exist in the realm of education with curriculum and designing experiences and learning, but they're also in the training component, right? Top tech, healthcare, financial services, retail companies are still looking for instructional designers, which are educators. Remember, instructional design falls under education, and they want them to craft effective learning experiences. And this is Amazon, Tesla, Microsoft, Uber, Morgan Stanley, like you name it, people are looking for instructional designers across the board. So something to consider. What is instructional design? I'm not going to read this to you, but you can read it on your own. But it's basically about helping people and organizations learn better, right? It's about really developing programs or resources and designing them, developing them, and delivering them, right? And the superpowers for instructional design are things that are actually superpowers or skills that you would need for any career, especially today with technology, right? They're about having a passion for learning and understanding how learning works. They're about visualization skills, ability to write well, which AI can help you with that now. So that one's a great one. Creativity, problem solving abilities or innovation and creativity, people skills, active listening, all these things. In fact, and I'm going to go forward a little bit because again, I want to move through this quickly. I don't want to take more than 30 minutes. Those same kind of needs that you need for an instructional designer are the kinds of needs that you need now in education when you're dealing with technology, right? You need to be a critical thinker, a cyber defense and ethical thinking about technology and how to use technology in education is becoming big, because one of the things that has happened in recent years, and you guys know this, is with generative AI leaping and ChatGPT booming in terms of the education field, the field of education, a lot of the conversation became, oh, are students gonna be, cheating on their writing? Are there, what's gonna happen to writing as a skill set if students are just going to ChatGPT to write something up or to turn something in? And so there's been that conversation, but a lot of what's happened also is that students are using it in different ways. And we could talk a little bit. You can go, by the way, you can click on this link and it'll take you to some of the challenges and some of the ways that ChatGPT is being used in education, and other generative AI. You could also look it up, how it's being used in education, but mostly it's being used to enhance the teaching and learning experience, right? To create lesson plans, to create rubrics, or to at least draft ideas of how things are interrelated and what can you do, and even to explain concepts in different ways. Like students are using it in a lot of ways. Actually, my next Mentimeter is really about how you use ChatGPT, but we'll skip that one because we don't have the time. But Immersive technologies are also really big in education. So if you have the opportunity to take a class or to do something with virtual reality, with augmented reality, with mixed reality, definitely do that. One of the things that's happening, it's expanding the boundaries of the classroom and education. People are going on virtual field trips. It's actually more cost effective. It's actually safer. So that's also, you could, by the way, you could pass by WeLearn, room 1217 at Padron, and you can check this out. But just go to your local, if you know, on any campus, go to the business or technology center. You should, if you're at North, you have an AI center. If you're at Wilson, you have an AI center, and check these technologies out and play with them, because this is your future, right? This is what you're going to have to be able to navigate. Again, critical thinking is a need and something that you're going to have to focus on, because you're going to have to understand how to make these technologies work. In fact, one of the biggest things that's happening now with generative AI in the field of education is, of course, and everywhere, is prompt engineering, right? Getting the right question to ChatGPT so that it can produce quality response, right? The kind of response that you wanted. And actually, I do have a little bit about how to do that, and you can check out the links for that as well. Again, one of the things that's happening is more personalized learning, because technology is allowing us to do that, right? For, again, ChatGPT, the AR, VR experiences, and there's a lot of data-driven decision making that's happening, which I already talked about. Okay, so those are the trends in technology and how technology is being used. And so, okay, so here's the, oh, you know what? Let me go back, because one of the things that I do want to say, the technology trends is this link. I'm sorry, technology trends in it. The Chat GPT is about how to create a good prompt. Like, for example, actually, and I'm going to click on that really quickly. And I know that we don't have a lot of time. I think we have 1 minute. I'm so sorry. Teresita, you can tell me to be quiet. But I just want to show you, this is what I wanted to show you. There's a hierarchy of prompt components. So when you're creating, and you should be experimenting with ChatGPT, because again, you're going to need, I'm going to show you jobs that now say, know how to interact with AI and ChatGPT, especially. I'm going to show you those jobs out there in a minute. But basically, you should always talk about the task, right? That's the most important part. But then even the tone all the way at the bottom is sometimes very important and necessary, especially when you're creating writing or drafting something. So these are the kinds of components that your prompts for AI should have. So this is the skill that I want to impart to you. And this gives you ideas. There's a lot of formulas for this, but this is, I think, the simplest one, works really well. And it gives you examples of what that would look like in the real world. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what was there. Okay, and then let's keep on going. Okay, I'm not going to go with what would you ask ChatGPT, but you can check that out on your own. A closer look at AI. Just want to let you know, these are the stats that are out there. Market is expected to reach 407 billion in 2027. 400 million workers will be displaced. That doesn't mean that they will lose their jobs. It's just that their jobs will be different. And actually, I'm going to give you the last quote for that. And there's something coming up in the chat probably that I need to stop. But just want to tell you this quote: AI won't replace humans, but humans with AI that understand AI, that can manipulate AI, that can engage with AI will definitely replace humans that will not. So even in the education realm, you need to start having experience in seeking out those classes, like the bachelor's in AI program that we have, right? That will get you to have that kind of credential. There are jobs out there right now that are asking for folks with a degree in the field of AI. They're already asking for that. Not in computer science, in the field of AI. So I'm gonna actually move a little bit, invite Christina. Oh, this is what I was going to show you, but it's here. You guys can look it up. This was the FIU instructional design supervisor. It's 70,000 to 80,000 for starting salary. This is, look, an AI writing generalist. This is an actual job in Texas right now that just came out, $25 an hour. Not a lot, but all you have to do, you can work remotely, and all you have to do is kind of engage with AI and create original and challenging prompts for AI. And so anyway, so that's out there. I'm just going to move on. I think this is my last slide, I promise. Oh, there's some really good videos that I found online that you should check out. The top 10 technologies that you should learn and know, especially in the field of education. And then that's it. I swear, that's my last slide. And I'm so sorry that I went over by 2 minutes, but there's my email, bcabrera2@mdc.edu. And I know that I said that I would give Christina a chance to talk. So Christina, if you could, anything that you want to add, that you want to expand on that I forgot, probably
No,
3,000.
this is amazing, Belkis, and I'm so glad that you brought to light how education is changing. Like the traditional role of a teacher is changing. The traditional things that you could do with a degree in education is changing. So this is enlightening, not only for future people, people that want to be teachers or have that calling or that mindset, but for us that have been in the field of education, like for us to grow, like the world is changing, and I think we need to change with it. So this is so amazing. I'm like really excited to hear this, and just everything that you shared. It's so real because we see everything like business. Now they're talking about, anything in technology and AI, but now to really look at see how it will be incorporated into the field of education. It's really exciting. So thank
And
you.
I have to tell you, thank you for that. And I do have to tell you, oh my God, and Martha just I guess I'm gonna let Martha in, but Martha's just coming in to say bye. But I was just gonna tell you that it's really interesting, and I do want to say for people who want to be leaders in this field, not in the education field, in the technology world, the educators are the ones who are setting the trend. Remember that we educate the young, right? Everything kind of centers around education. The educators are the ones creating the policies. The educators are the ones interacting with the students and saying, this is as far as we can go. So, it's interesting because even if technology is really kind of seeped in the business world, everything that they're learning and everything that they're gaining is coming from the field of education. So don't discount the field of education for all this type of knowledge and all this kind of work. And again, businesses come to the educators to train their people. Think about that because there's a lot of money there. And it is about how do you deliver a good learning experience, and that's all education. So that's all us. And Christina, of course.
Fantastic, fantastic.
So thank you, Teresita.
And
Thank you so
very
much for this.
inspiring to know that we have, folks like the We Learn Institute that, can really support these young educators to really connect with, the technology that they need to be better educators. It's fantastic, very inspiring.
Awesome, wonderful. Thank you so much, Cecilia. Thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to look at I just wanted to look at the comments and make sure that I addressed the comments. So, guys, again, if you need anything, please reach out. You can reach out. So actually, if you don't remember my name, because I know mine is like, if you say Cabrera, you get my mom, but she'll send it to me. So don't worry. But if you do be Cabrera 2, the A is a 2, that's me. But you could also send it to We Learn. If We Learn is easier, We Learn at mdc.edu, and we'll also get it. All my team will get it. By the way, we have instructional designers at We Learn. So you can talk to some of us about like, what does that career look like? How did it open administrative roles for you? I could tell you a little bit about my journey, right? And the kind of like the things that I went into and where I ended up and where I taught at, I didn't teach. I'm sorry that I say that. I was at the Center for the Advancement of Teaching at FIU. So I could talk a little bit about how the instructional design and the education route opened up administrative routes, but that are different, not the typical, again, principal or assistant principal roles, right? So like Christina said, it's changing and educators are really at the forefront. Honestly, I wouldn't say that just because it's what I have seen. So thank you so much for this, and hope you guys got something you needed.